Now going to question 21, we always start with the prompt, and the prompt is telling us that this is a grammar question. So let's read for grammar. Working from an earlier discovery of this person's, these chemists, winners of the Nobel Prize in Chemistry, recreated and then reprogrammed the so-called genetic scissors of a species of DNA-cleaving bacteria to forge a tool that's revolutionizing the field of gene technology. So what I would say here is make sure you read the whole thing because it could kind of give you a feel for the whole picture of the sentence you're reading. When I read it, this just sounded amazing, didn't it? The different answers here have a little bit to do with parallelism, which is the idea that if you give items in a list or in a list type of setup, they have to be said the same way. For instance, I like running, biking, and jogging, or I like to run, to bike, and to jog, but I don't want to mix and match those. So here, if we say they recreated and reprogrammed this and forging a tool, it doesn't really go together. So I think it's kind of easy to get rid of D here. So now looking at answer choice C, if we said they recreated and reprogrammed the genetic scissors of a species of DNA cleaving bacteria, forged a tool, I kind of would have liked to hear they did all this stuff and forged a tool. So C and D are maybe both taking advantage of what we would have said in our own mind. They recreated and reprogrammed all this stuff and forged a tool that is revolutionizing the field. That would have been great. It's just not being offered to us. And B is wrong, in my opinion, from more of the standpoint of parallelism, because they recreated and reprogrammed the scissors, forging a tool. So slipping into the ing has less parallelism. Another thing that's wrong with B is the idea that if I were going to write it that way, I'd put a comma right here. And that has to do with the idea of what a modifier is. For instance, if I said they forged a tool, that's an independent clause because forged is a verb and they is the subject. It's the one doing that verb. If, on the other hand, I want to turn that into a modifier, I would say exactly that. I would say forging a tool. So, for instance, John worked really hard last week, comma, forging a tool that he will use for the rest of his career. So forging, changing the subject-verb combination to an ing, is what you do to relegate a part of a sentence to a modifier, to make it an incomplete part of a sentence that you can now attach with a comma. So what I'm saying about B is that the word forging would sound pretty good there if there were a comma before it, but there isn't, so we'll get rid of it. And A just sounds really good and doesn't violate any grammar rules, so we'll go ahead and pick it here.